reality, to lobby the governments to ensure that project becomes a reality. Most of the challenges we face are not new. The OECS bar continues to be deeply concerned about the increasing backlog of cases, the inability to secure early trial dates in the High Court, the many long delays in the delivery of judgments, and the inability to secure transcripts for the timely processing of appeals. Urgent consideration must be given to a more speedy hearing and determination of constitutional and judicial review matters. Chief Justice, we welcome plans in the upcoming year to strengthen and widen mediation, train new mediators, introduce new criminal and family rules, and increase the jurisdiction of the Magistrates' Court. These are measures that would no doubt facilitate the delivery of justice. Throughout the OECS, hundreds of matters have been settled via the mediation process. Just imagine the strain on the justice system if all those matters were to proceed to trial. Then we'll be hearing of trial dates in 2025. Mediation must be an integral part of our new culture. Notwithstanding our limited resources, we can achieve significantly more through greater organization and mobilization of our members. The OECS bar shall continue its focus on continuing legal education for lawyers throughout the sub-region, public legal education through the introduction of Law Week in each jurisdiction, cost-effective professional indemnity insurance for all members, implementation of legal profession acts in each jurisdiction, greater cooperation between bench, bar, and other stakeholders in the justice system through the establishment of bench bar committees in each jurisdiction, and critical support and guidance to constituent bars in their efforts to organize and energize their members. We wish to commend the Anguilla Bar for organizing in May 2013 its first ever Law Week. What a massive success it was, with lawyers reaching out to the community and engaging in public legal education. Very commendably, during that special week, the bar also launched a mentoring program for youths. We urge constituent bars to follow the example of the Anguilla Bar. We call on attorneys general throughout the sub-region on whose desk draft legal profession bills rest, to dust out those bills and take them to Parliament for debate and passage. Time is long overdue. We ask in particular the AGs of the BVI, Montserrat, Anguilla, Dominica, and St. Vincent to take special note in that regard. We call on attorneys throughout the sub-region to strengthen their bars, join the OECS bars individual members, promote the mediation process, speak out on human rights issues, engage in public legal education, contribute unselfishly to social causes, and take up deserving pro bono cases. Honorable Chief Justice, the OECS bar pledges to continue to work with the court to facilitate the administration of justice, to enhance the rule of law, to promote a strong and independent judiciary, and to create a just and stable society. May it please, my lords.
Thank you, Mr. Ferguson. The President of the BVI Bar Association, Ms. Arabella DeLorio.
Honourable Chief Justice, Your Excellency, Honourable Premier, may I respectfully adopt the protocol that has already been established. As you heard from my learned colleague, Mr. Ferguson, the eminent judges here today, the learned Queen's Counsel, and other members of the profession did not spend the weekend that has just gone at leisure. They attended the regional law fair hosted here in the BVI, and at which all the delegates enjoyed a significant number of thought-provoking sessions. The fact that people at the absolute pinnacle of their legal careers were listening to talks on intellectual property, economic tort, the challenges facing offshore jurisdictions today, made me think about the training of our future Virgin Islands lawyers. Those lawyers face increasing challenges today. If I can be allowed a few moments of reminiscence, in my day, which was a very long time ago, securing a training contract or a pupillage was actually relatively easy. Big firms in the United Kingdom were more than happy to work people to death for a couple of years, have them put down thousands of billable hours, and then return them to the countries whence they came. Pupillage was even easier, as long as you had a lot of money. In my day, pupillage was completely unpaid. If you were lucky, you might secure something extravagantly called a scholarship, but in reality, that was a few $100s, which you could spend on a couple of textbooks that in a few months' time would be out of date and need replacing. When I was last in London, I talked to the heads of recruitment at a number of the very big law firms, and I said to them, why won't you offer training contracts to our young Virgin Islands lawyers? And they said, these days it's all about retention. We have to estimate how many lawyers we're going to need to employ in 2 years' time. And if we don't get it right, our percentages are made public. We don't look good. We lose out in competition among other law firms. We therefore don't want people who are going to leave. Where does this leave our Virgin Islands lawyers? It leaves them, in my respectful submission, in need of careful, dedicated training from those of us who are privileged to work here. I have listened with great pleasure to what the Honourable Attorney General had to say about the training that is being offered. But it's being offered by a handful of individuals, and I think we all could do a lot more. So I am not indulging today in a long list of what the BVI Bar Association is doing or has done. What I want to do is encourage the members of that association to look to the future, to look at what they can do. I believe it is our duty to pass on our knowledge and our experience to future generations of lawyers. If we don't do that, they will become disillusioned, they will change careers, they will not contribute as they could so easily do to the future of this wonderful country. Who knows, one day, one of them might be Chief Justice. On behalf of the Bar Association, may I congratulate you, Dame Janice, and wish everyone a successful law year. Thank you.
Mr. Kisoklan from the Utter Bar.
May please you, Madam Chief Justice, Justices of Appeal, and High Court judges. May I be permitted to adopt the protocol established by the learned Chief Justice earlier in acknowledging the presence of everyone here. I do so purely in the interest of saving time, knowing full well that protocol officers worldwide cringe every time that practice is adopted. My lords, in mid-July, when the concept of the law year was the furthest thing from my mind, I received a package in the mail from the UK. And as I opened the package, I saw the word calendar. And I remarked to a colleague, it's 6 months in the year, I can't believe someone is sending me their leftover stock of 2013 calendars. But as I opened the package, I was really embarrassed because the calendar read Law Year Calendar 2013-2014, with the first month being October, since October is when the law year begins in the UK. In the moment, I immediately remembered one of the cardinal principles of practice, which is always read every word of the document which you're looking at. And secondly, it brought home to me just how important the law year is to members of the legal fraternity. We actually have our own calendar starting in October or September, as the case may be, ending in September or October of the following year. So the law year is an important feature historically of the legal profession, and it is indeed an honor to have been asked to say a few words on behalf of the Utter Bar. And I emphasize a few words, because having attended a number of these ceremonies over the years, I've always noted that the speaker on behalf of the Utter Bar is usually the last person to speak from the bar. This year is no different. And invariably, by the time you get around to that speaker, most of what really needs to be said would have already been said. And this year was no different. As I sat here, I got a distinct feeling of deja vu, because with each speaker, I just kept crossing off my talking points. While my learned friend, Mr. Ruggles, spoke, I crossed off 4 talking points. So I will be very brief. I think it only remains for me then, on behalf of the Utter Bar, to renew our commitment to maintain the very high standards for which practice in the BVI has become known internationally. Luckily, this year, we have 3 less members of the Utter Bar. And that's a good thing, because it has come about by the admission of 3 members to the inner bar. And this was well deserved, some would say long overdue, and it has been a source of tremendous pride and inspiration for us. Many of us will never make it, but we strive. My lords, we note the continuing efforts of Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice, all the judges, the various registrars throughout the region, to improve the administration of justice in the BVI and in the wider region. There are many efforts, many of which Your Ladyship has mentioned this morning, and I won't need to go through all of them, of course. But certainly as far as the BVI is concerned, we note the recent developments in the Magistrates Court and the change in the procedures there as far as it relates to the service of process, that being now left to the litigants. That will certainly reduce the burden of the state doing it and reduce the burden on the state's accounts, which the government will be happy for, of course. But it will also serve to remove what has been a source of backlog in the Magistrates Court. I think we also need to look, my lords, at the enforcement processes in the Magistrates Court, especially as we contemplate expanding that jurisdiction. I think we need to look at the enforcement procedures there to ensure that we don't have another backlog being created in those courts. We note the circulation, my lords, of the new non-contentious probate rules, which I think would be welcomed by all practitioners. It is very comprehensive and will serve to plug a lot of the holes that exist procedurally in the practice. We note with some high expectation the proposed e-filing initiatives which are scheduled to come on stream, and certainly the younger members of the Utter Bar are quite anxious to get ahead with that. My lady, my lords, we support all those initiatives wholeheartedly. and we pledge to offer assistance in any way we can. I realize it's now 12:30 and many of my colleagues are probably getting withdrawal symptoms, not just because they haven't had their mid-morning coffee breaks, but they've been away from their computers so long and their law books, I know they're getting jittery. So, Millards, I think it only remains then for me, on behalf of the Utter Bar, to wish everyone a successful law year by whatever criteria you measure success. May it please you, Millards.
Thank you, Mr. Lang. Honorable Chief Justice, I would be grateful if you just permit me to express just a few words of acknowledgement before these proceedings are brought to a close. The protocol having long been established, let me again say that it was a pleasure to see everyone here at the beginning of another law year. I am especially pleased to see so many people in the room who are partners in the building of a justice system of which everyone can be proud. Your Ladyship, no one will disagree with you that a properly functioning legal and judicial system plays a crucial role in determining economic performance in ways that will inevitably promote growth and development. All of the studies and the statistics clearly support this position, and yet too few of our countries have failed to do enough to ensure that judiciaries operate at the optimum level necessary. As one of the few laborers in the field, I can only pray that your words will not fall on deaf ears and that this law year will usher in meaningful and long-lasting change. Your Ladyship has clearly illustrated that the court and the justice system in most of our territories continue to experience difficulties. Outdated legislative frameworks, woefully insufficient staffing, inadequate registry and court facilities, lack of appropriate finances are just a few of the major problems which we continue to face. I am confident, however, that these difficulties, although significant, are not insurmountable. Our justice system is a multifaceted one. Notwithstanding, and often in spite of the challenges, everyone who has a role in it needs to perform that role to the best of their ability. This includes the police, the social workers, the probation officers, the prison staff, the forensic scientists and other experts, jurors, court staff, government agencies, the judges, and of course, both the public and the private bar. On this note, I can indicate that recently I was particularly disturbed to learn that the BVI Legal Aid Office does not currently maintain a roster of attorneys because so few have volunteered their services, and of those who have volunteered, the conditions which they have attached make it difficult for them to be effectively deployed to assist the very real needs that exist in the BVI. That struck a very real chord with me. Are we no longer obliged to be responsive, to seek to provide justice, fairness, protection, balance, service, and incentive to the community in which we live? In a jurisdiction where the bar numbers in the hundreds and where we have at least 11 Queen's Counsel on the roll, I am sure that we can all agree that this situation is wholly unsatisfactory. Rather than await the inevitable legislative compulsion which will no doubt one day follow, I would urge the members of the bar to remedy this situation as soon as possible. Please, run, do not walk to the BVI Legal Aid Office to volunteer your services. At the end of the day, we all need to know what we are aiming for, we all need to study every aspect of what we do, and we all need to make those adjustments so that we can absolutely at the top of our game if the justice system is to be all that it can be. Each of us must therefore take apart our performance. We must analyze it and study the relevant statistics and outputs. Look at what could be done to improve. Each of us knows exactly what is being asked of us and what to do to achieve it. Even small adjustments may lead to significant gains in each individual's performance and may ultimately contribute to our achieving the ultimate goal. Your leadership, you have set for us significant challenges this year, but they are challenges designed to ensure that the justice system is the best it can be. That is a task which none of us can do alone. The job of each of us is to play our part in making that happen. So this year, we look forward to continuing to work hard along with the other key players in the system to really see what we can do to make the system as efficient as it can be. On behalf of my colleagues on the bench in the British Virgin Islands, I pledge our wholesale support to you, Chief Justice, and to the court. I am confident that together we can help to achieve your vision. On a lighter note, permit me to also say that it has been a wonderful opening ceremony, and if I may say so, a very successful law fair. The BVI can be suitably proud of its hosting. There are a number of persons and entities who must take the blame for this unparalleled success. And if you would permit me, Chief Justice, I would just like to give thanks for the local participants. We certainly could not have started the day right without invoking the blessings of God, and so we wish to thank Reverend Father Ronald Branch for his thoughtful message and invocation. I trust that we were all suitably convicted. Of course, none of this would be possible without the financial and technical support of the British Virgin Islands government. Special thanks to the Office of the Governor and the Deputy Governor and her staff, especially her tireless Permanent Secretary. Special thanks also to the Public Works Department and the Government Information Service, the Protocol Office, and of course the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, who really distinguished themselves today. We must also thank the several suppliers, many of whom went above and beyond the call of duty or otherwise kindly agreed to compromise their usual charges. Very quickly, they include the management of the sports complex, the Popeyes rental, the Moorings Marina Inn, JTV, Mr. Jack, who provided the transportation from the church, Reverend Sonia Brooks, Ms. Sandra Herbert, Felicity Moses for the lovely decoration,